Let me ask you something that no one asked me starting out, and I wish someone would have asked me this question because it would have saved me a lot of time. So I'm gonna ask you the question to hopefully save you some time as well. Where does money actually come from in the creative industries? Not hypothetically, not spiritually, I mean practically. You make a song, a video, a brand. Where does the money actually originate? Who's writing the check? Who decides whether your creative work is worth paying for and why? Because let's be honest, we all know someone who's wildly talented and broke. And we've all seen someone who's less talented maybe, making six figures or more using what seems like the same skills. So what's the difference? Now here's where my story comes in. I'm a Grammy Award-winning songwriter and successful visual creator. I've had songs go global, I've built brands and consulted artists on both sides of the creative world, visual and music. But the truth is, I didn't get here by figuring out the algorithm or having the most followers. I got here by learning the difference between creativity that gets applause and creativity that gets paid. In the early days, like most creatives, I was obsessed with being good. I spent hours sharpening my craft, writing better lyrics, producing tighter records, and getting more experimental with my visuals. But I wasn't thinking about money. I didn't know how money worked in this space. And because I didn't come from wealth, that ignorance hurt. I knew that if I was gonna live beyond what I grew up with, if I wanted freedom, not just fame, I had to figure out how this thing actually paid. And once I started looking at the creative industry through that lens, things changed. Because I realized something that no one teaches you in art school or music programs or even creative masterminds. The money doesn't always come from the top. It comes from the middle, and sometimes it's hidden in plain sight. So what do I mean by this? See, the thing is, we romanticize these industries as if they're these high gates that only a chosen few get access to. We picture the gallery openings, the major label deals, TV syncs, the Grammy nights, the art fairs in Berlin and Basel. But there are other doors, and often they're wide open. For every superstar artist, there are dozens of other creative professionals making a solid living. Some even quietly getting rich by using the exact same skills in less glamorous but more accessible ways. If you're a music creator, yes, of course you can chase that dream song placement, but you can also get paid right now as a recording intern, an audio engineer, places where your ear, your gear, and your knowledge are already in demand. If you're a visual creator, yes, your work might belong on walls or in vogue one day, but right now, your eye and your skills are already valuable to people who need a desktop publisher, a motion graphic designer, presentation expert, or brand consultant. These are the kind of jobs that rarely make headlines, but they pay and they build muscle. And they keep you in the room where real opportunities happen. So if you're struggling to figure out how to turn your creative gift into money, start here. Stop looking only at the peak and start looking at the paths beneath your feet. Now that we've talked about where the hidden opportunities are in creative industries, let's zoom in a bit. Because if you're going to make real, sustainable income doing creative work, you need to understand something that most creatives ignore. Money doesn't just come from art. It comes from the problem the art solves. I want to take you inside the creative roles that I've personally worked in over the years. Because I haven't just done one thing. I've lived the creative hustle from multiple angles. Recording artist, music producer, songwriter, photographer, videographer, graphic designer, brand creator, fashion designer, and product developer. Every one of these roles has different money mechanics, different ways you get paid, different types of clients and gatekeepers. And most importantly, the different levels of value based upon what problem you're solving. Let's break this down. The recording artist, money comes from advances, royalties, merch, shows, and licensing. But royalties don't come just from making music. They come from people consuming it. So the problem you're solving isn't just good music. Sometimes it's connection, entertainment, vibe, and even nostalgia. A music producer, you get paid for your technical skill, your creative vision, and your ability to finish a track. Sometimes that's upfront payments, sometimes it's back-end payments, and sometimes it's both. You're solving the problem of how the music sounds, and often managing the workflow and the emotional stability of the artist. The songwriter, your value is tied to the conceptual clarity and emotional depth of the song. You're solving a messaging problem, but your compensation depends on who owns the final product and how it performs. So unless you're tied to the publishing or licensing, you might feel distant from your contribution. Photographer or videographer, you're capturing the vision, elevating the brand, or documenting the moments. The money comes from sessions, edits, and licensing usage, but what you're really solving is the problem of visibility, status, and marketing. Graphic designer, designers get paid to make things look good, but also to make things work. That could mean layouts, brand visuals, or user interfaces. The money depends on usage, scope, and who you're working for. A flyer for a local event pays differently than a logo for a $10 million company. Why? Because the stakes of the problem are different. Brand creator, this is where things get layered because you're not just making things look good. You're architecting a story, an experience, a perception. You're solving a positioning problem. Money in this area can be big if the client understands the business value of what you're doing. Fashion designer, you're designing for utility, identity, and culture. The money can come from direct-to-consumer sales or production deals. The challenge, you're often solving multiple problems at once. Fit, trend, lifestyle alignment, cost, and brand story. Product designer, you're solving function and form at once. You're paid to make something usable, desirable, and efficient, often in collaboration with engineers and product teams. The money here typically comes from employment or equity, depending on the company's size. Now, here's what ties all of these roles together. The amount of money you make is almost always tied to the size of the problem you're solving. But there's a second piece that creatives often miss. Sometimes you're solving a problem inside someone else's problem. For example, you're a songwriter, but the artist is your client. Their problem is, I need a hit song. But their client is the label, and their problem is, I need to sell this artist. And the label's client is the audience. And the real problem is, we need something that cuts through and generates revenue. So in this scenario, if you're just the songwriter at the bottom of the chain, you're solving one layer of the problem. And that typically means that your compensation is diluted because someone else owns the relationship to the original problem. This is why two creatives doing technically the same work can make widely different income. One may be at the bottom of the value chain, the other may be at the top. So here's the shift I want you to make. Don't just think about your skill. Think about your positioning. Ask yourself, who is the ultimate client? What is their problem? How far am I from the client? How close am I to being the one that owns the solution? The closer you are to solving the original problem, and the more direct relationship you have with the person paying to fix the problem, the more money you can command. So far, we've covered where money hides in creative industries and how it flows through the value chains based on the problem you solve. But now I want to talk about what really matters. How do you move from someone who just gets paid to someone who gets paid well consistently? Here's what I've learned from doing this across multiple fields: music, art, design, fashion, and branding. It's not about just getting better at your craft. It's about getting better at your positioning. Because when you position yourself from doer to problem solver, everything changes. Let's break this down into a simple, repeatable framework that you can start using right now. Number one, clarify the problem you solve. Don't just say you make beats, shoot videos, or design brands. Ask yourself, who am I helping? What do they struggle with? How does my creative skill make their life or business better? The clearer you are about this, the more valuable you become. Number two, get closer to the decision maker. The more middleman between you and the money, the more your value gets chopped down. If you're constantly subcontracting or working under someone else's brand, you're building their empire, not yours. Instead, you want to be the person that the client trusts directly, the person that understands the big picture and brings creative firepower to solve it. That's when you're able to charge way more for the work because you're tied to results, not just deliverables. Number 3, learn the business behind the craft. Look, I know it's tempting to stay in the creative zone. That's your happy place. But if you want your work to create freedom and not just cool content, you have to understand the business. This is why I created Creative Empire Mastery, a step-by-step audio guide for creative entrepreneurs that walks you through how to monetize your skills even if you've never sold anything before. It's built from my own journey. The link is in the description when you're ready to dive deeper. Number 4, own your offer. Don't wait for somebody to come validate your talent. Build your own offer. Package your skills into something people can understand and buy, whether that's a service, a digital product, or a consulting experience. You can do it small at first, that's fine. But the sooner you start treating your creativity like a business, the sooner it'll start paying you like one. And finally, don't panic if it feels like a lot. Yes, turning your creative talent into sustainable income can feel overwhelming. Yes, the creative industries can seem complicated and gatekept, but you're not crazy, you're not behind, you're not too late. You just need a map, and the map starts with understanding where the money actually comes from, how to position yourself closer to it, and how to own your creative value in a way that no one else can. You don't need to wait for permission. You just need to start with a better understanding and the courage to act on it. And that's what this is really all about. I hope this has been extremely helpful for someone. And until we talk again, I wish you health, wealth, and freedom.